A woman approached her and started humiliating Ame. But something mysterious happened, and Muna screamed and her eyes changed. After the encounter, the woman was unable to speak again and she became dumb. Ame was so scared and she ran home with Muna. She asked Muna about what had happened. I have strange powers and I don't have control over them. Whenever I'm hurt, the person that caused it will automatically feel my pain. Ame was shocked and she asked her if she ever does something good with the powers. And Muna told her that she has the abilities to grant wishes also. Once upon a time, there lived a man named Kojo and his wife Ame. Kojo and Ame loved each other so much and they were admired and respected by the villagers because they were very kind and compassionate towards the poor and the needy in the village. After some time, the villagers lost the love and respect they had for them because they had no child. They accused Kojo of using his wife's womb for ritual, while others accused Ame of being a witch. Ame would cry herself to sleep every night, and she stopped associating with the women of the village because of the constant humiliation. Whenever she visits the market to get food items, the villagers will start calling her names. When Ame's friend Tinu came from Ife to visit her, she noticed the constant humiliation and she advised Ame and Kojo to leave the village with her. But they refused because all their memories was in Owu. Tinu would help Ame to go to the market and run all errands because Ame was constantly hiding in her room. After a couple of weeks, Tinu went back to Ife. But before she left, she advised Ame to adopt a child, as that would also make her experience the joy of motherhood. Ame told her husband Kojo about it, and they both agreed, and they went to Mama Tolu's house. Mama Tolu was a very kind woman who owned an orphanage. She helped a lot of children who were abandoned by their parents and even orphans. When Ame got to Mama Tolu's house, she showed her all the children and asked her to choose a child. Ame saw a lot of beautiful children, but she noticed one sitting all alone. Ame and her husband Kojo asked Mama Tolu why she was alone, and Mama Tolu told them that the child's name was Muna, and she was different from the rest of the children, and so they always excluded her. Muna's story touched Ame and she started seeing herself in her. I'll take her home and she'll become my own child, Ame said to Mama Tolu. Mama Tolu advised her to choose another child as Muna would be too much trouble for her. But Ame insisted and Muna was given to her. When they got home, Muna refused to eat and she went into the room and stayed there quietly. Ame told her about her new status in the house and treated her like her child. She bought all sorts of nice things for Muna and gradually she started getting comfortable in the house. Muna became Ame and Kojo's source of joy and they loved her like their own child. When the villagers heard of Muna, they began to gossip again, but this time around, Ame paid them deaf ears. She continued to love and take care of Muna. One day, when Ame and Muna were coming from the market, a woman approached her and started humiliating Ame. But something mysterious happened, and Muna screamed and her eyes changed. After the encounter, the woman was unable to speak again and she became dumb. Ame was so scared and she ran home with Muna. She asked Muna about what had happened. I have strange powers and I don't have control over them. Whenever I'm hurt, the person that caused it will automatically feel my pain. Ame was shocked and she asked her if she ever does something good with the powers. And Muna told her that she has the abilities to grant wishes also. The woman went into the village to tell the villagers what had happened, but she was unable to speak, and so no one knew what exactly she was saying. The woman fell on the ground and started crying and regretting what made her approach Ame and Muna. That night, Ame could not sleep. She thought of how she could use Muna's power to her advantage, and she told Kojo about it. But Kojo was against it. Maybe she's the solution to our problem, she said to Kojo. But we already have a child. We have Muna, Kojo responded. At that moment, the hopes and dream of having her own child started resurrecting. The next day, Ame went to Muna and asked her if she could make her get pregnant and bear a child. Muna was surprised and told her that she could. But there were conditions, and the conditions were that the moment she gets pregnant, she would have to leave Ame and Kojo's house, as the child would come with powers, and both of them cannot live under the same roof. Ame was surprised, and she asked about the second condition, and Muna told her that the child's weakness would be salt, and on no condition must she taste salt once her powers start manifesting. Muna thought Ame would not comply, but to her greatest shock, Ame agreed to the condition and Muna granted her wish. Ame was so happy that she never bothered to ask where Muna would go, and Muna was heartbroken and she went into the room and started crying. One day, Muna mysteriously disappeared and no one knew where she went to. They searched for her, but no one had seen her. This troubled Kojo and Ame so much, but it was part of the condition. Later that day, Ame became sick and she was taken to the herbalist, where it was confirmed that she was pregnant. Ame was so happy, but after a while, she remembered what Muna had said and realized that the baby in her womb was the reason Muna disappeared. She cried for a while, but she refused to tell her husband because that might destroy her marriage, as Kojo already warned her not to go ahead with the wish. Kojo continued to look for Muna as she was his daughter, but Muna was nowhere to be found. Weeks turned into months, and they all accepted their fate and assumed that she must have been kidnapped or something bad must have happened to her. Ame's belly continued to grow, and when it was time, she went into labor. The labor lasted for a very long time, and Ame almost lost her life. After some time, she had a very beautiful baby girl. When it was time to name the child, Kojo named her Muna because the birth of the child reminded him of her. Muna was such a beautiful girl, and she became the apple of her mother's eye. At last, Ame was free from the villagers' mockery, and she focused on raising her daughter Muna. When Muna became 12 years old, her gifts started manifesting. She was blessed with the power to heal. She healed every sick person she came across, and not too long, people started traveling from far away to see her. Muna became very rich, and people would pay tribute with items like gold, food items, lands, and even houses. Ame warned her not to eat in people's houses, and she cleared out all the swords in the house. She couldn't tell her everything as it would raise more questions. Kojo found it strange, but paid no much attention to it. One day, some jealous villagers held a meeting, and in the meeting, they accused Muna of using witchcraft to heal people. And so they decided to keep a close eye on her. One of the spies sent to monitor her saw that Muna doesn't use herb to make her medicine. Rather, she boils some vegetables and uses it to cure all illnesses. This was so strange to them, and so they decided to tell the king that she was using witchcraft to heal people. When Ame heard the news, she told her husband and Muna, and they quickly took some of their belongings and fled the village. They went to Tunu's house in Ife and stayed there for a while. Ame was so scared for her daughter's life, and she imagined what would happen if she displayed her gifts in Ife. And so, she prepared a delicious dinner and added some salt and gave it to Muna to eat. She did this so Muna could lose her powers and become a normal girl. After having dinner, they all went to their rooms and slept. The next day, Muna did not wake up from her sleep. Her parents panicked and rushed her to the shrine. The native doctor consulted the oracle for a while and told Kojo and Ame that Muna's condition was critical and that she was at the point of death. He further told them that their first child, Muna, sacrificed her life so Ame could bear a child. And the child was given to Ame on a certain condition, which has been deferred. And so a life had to be offered in exchange to bring Muna back. When they heard this, Kojo was sad because he asked Ame not to go ahead with the wish. Ame fell on her knees and began to beg Kojo for forgiveness. Kojo looked at his poor daughter Muna lying lifeless on the ground, and tears started pouring out of his eyes. He forgave Ame and told her to go home and bring the kola nut for them to offer to the oracle. Ame quickly stood up and she did exactly what Kojo asked. And when she got back, she saw that Muna was awake and she became very happy. But her happiness was cut short when she saw her husband Kojo lying lifeless on the floor. Ame asked the native doctor what happened, and he told her that Kojo had given up his life for Muna. Ame fell to the ground and she started crying and regretting ever making the wish. Ame cried for days, and her decision haunted her for the rest of her life. This is the end of this story. The moral of this story is to be very careful of what we wish for, as we might end up losing all we have in the quest of finding what we want. Thank you for listening to this story. If you want us to make more videos, hit on the like and subscribe button below and comment which country you are watching from. We love and appreciate you. Bye.